See, Pakistan has to stop behaving like an abnormal state. It has to stop behaving like a terrorist. India, through institutionalized channel, has communicated to Pakistan that in case you were to retaliate, then the escalation is on you. Pakistan does not have the economy to sustain a battle, a war. It can do a tactical strike, but it cannot hold for a long. With the S-400 missile system, the moment you pose a threat, you'll be taken down. Pakistan yesterday has been using some Chinese loitering ammunition. Now, it's been using it on the LOC. It has perhaps used also on the international border. All this is on General Asim Munir. He started it, and he does not know which way to go from here.
Hello and welcome, I'm Abhishek Singh and you're watching the Hindustan Times. It took just 25 minutes for India to unleash 24 missiles that struck 9 terror camps and killed 70 terrorists in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. The strikes, which started at 1:05 a.m. and went on till 1:30 a.m. on May 7th, were carried out jointly by the Indian Army and the Indian Air Force. On the Indian side, 9 Indians are dead and 38 injured as per reports in the artillery firing which was done by Pakistan. A day later, Pakistan is running from pillar to post to tell the world it has shot down multiple Indian planes, a claim it hasn't produced any evidence for. To talk about the latest, I'm joined by my senior colleague, Mr. Shishir Gupta, Executive Editor, Hindustan Times. Thank you for taking the time, sir, and talking to us. So, what's the latest? Pakistan is making all kinds of claims on social media. The defense minister is going on TV channels, international TV channels, and telling them that the evidence is available on social media. So, what's the latest? If you can talk to us about that to begin with.
See, rather than addressing what Pakistan Defense Minister Khwaja Asif has been saying without any evidence, and he is relying, despite being the Defense Minister of Pakistan, on social media, I have nothing to say on that issue. I would leave it to the Indian Air Force to confirm if Indian jets have been downed. But you see, there is a term which is used is called the fog of war. So in this fog of war, various kind of misinformation, disinformation, all sorts of campaigns run it. So Khwaja Asif is doing a promotional exercise. I do not know whether there is a connect between Khwaja Asif and the army chief. I do not know whether the army chief, that is Asif Munir, is passing any information to them. Do they know what is happening in Pakistan? Because Pakistan right now is on a very, very rocky boat. In the sense, there is something happening in Balochistan. Their backside is getting exposed. There is something that is happening in the across Torkham border. And then the situation is totally, it's a very fragile situation as far as the internal security situation of Pakistan is concerned. So I really do not know what's really happening between the political leadership as well as the military leadership. Are the two even talking together? Because if Khwaja Asif is worth his salt, he would produce evidence as to where the fighters have gone down and who shot them. That's very clearly. So in India, we do not hide casualties. We do not hide either civilian or military casualties. Let it come out. What is happening? This is an era of information warfare. So social media is used for spreading misinformation, for doing false flag operations and various other nefarious activities to somehow put the opposition down, or to put the enemy or to put the adversary down. Khwaja Asif, when he's talking about multiple aircraft, he's talking about some 3 Rafales. And he was subsequently, his so-called claim, which was based on some social media, he says, was picked up by Chinese Global Times, which said that the Pakistan Air Force had actually downed Indian jets. To which the Indian embassy in Beijing had replied that Pakistan Air Force has not downed any Indian jet. Right? Now, the point is, rather than getting into this area, what is called the fog of war, the best thing is to wait for the Indian Air Force to come up with what is really the truth. Have we lost aircraft in the battle? Have we lost aircraft whatever are the circumstances. Now, there is also a social media which says that Pakistan has actually lost 2 Chinese fighters, one JF-17 and one J-10. Now, the point is, let them come out first and say that they have not lost anything. So, let me tell you, in the era of AWACS, in the era of deep radars, the war theatre or the battle theatre is very transparent. You know what has gone up, what has gone down, and what has dropped from the sky. So I prefer that the Indian Air Force answered the global query about this one. Khwaja Asif, in the meantime, can rely on social media. Now, to your other question, what is happening is that Pakistan has been doing 2 things. It has heated up the LOC by resorting to artillery firing and deliberately sort of put pressure on the Indians who are living across the LOC. Right. Pakistan yesterday has been using some Chinese loitering ammunition. Now, it's been using it on the LOC. It has perhaps used also on the international border, right? But this is the only response that Pakistan has done. Now, as far as Indian side is concerned, last night, the national security planners, they were all awake. The 3 chiefs were all in office. CDS was in office through the night. They were monitoring the situation, monitoring the international border, monitoring the LOC, and trying to see if Pakistan is going to do some kind of a retaliation. My understanding is there is no retaliation till now, except that loitering ammunition has been used. Right. Now, the service chiefs, the CDS will now meet the national security planners, and then they decide what is the next step that is going to be. But let me tell you very clearly, India through institutionalized channel has communicated to Pakistan that in case you were to retaliate, then the escalation is on you, because then we will really escalate the situation. Right. Vertically as well as horizontally.
And as far as the kind of targets that Pakistan, if it decides to retaliate, which will be a big mistake for Pakistan, but let's say if Pakistan decides to do it, considering the circumstances inside Pakistan, especially for the Pakistan army, which has become really unpopular, and as you were also mentioning earlier, is facing, the Baloch rebels, there are problems on the Turkham border, so on and so forth. So in order to, gain ground again inside Pakistan, if Pakistan army decides to retaliate, what are the kind of, targets it can perhaps look at? Because unlike Pakistan, India is a democracy and we do not have terror camps. Chances are they'll be striking military camps. Is that what the assumption, is that what the war games, that we have in place telling us?
Pakistan right now does not have the strategic depth. Earlier it used to have Afghanistan. Earlier it used to have areas which were like, Fata, which was Quetta, which was Balochistan. Now all these areas are actually vulnerable to insurgency, vulnerable to attacks from the rebels. So Pakistan essentially is now, what we're talking about is we're talking only about Punjabi Pakistan. We're only talking about Sindhi Pakistan. That's what we're talking about. And Pakistan does not have that kind of width to actually do a retaliation and then sustain a strike. Pakistan does not have the economy to sustain a battle, a war. It can do a tactical strike, but it cannot hold for a long. Now, coming to the options that Pakistan has, Pakistan can use the Air Force, but Pakistan, if it uses the Air Force, it will have to face not only the Indian Air Force, it will have to face the S-400 Triumph missile system. It will have to face the other missile systems also. So, thinking in cost-benefit analysis, if you were to lose 5 aircraft or 6 aircrafts or 10 aircrafts in a day without gaining anything and throwing bombs in Thar Desert or somewhere on the LOC, it doesn't make sense. I mean, all you can do is sort of, do a bit of chest thumping, that's about all. But nothing will be achieved. Now, considering what it is, at best Pakistan can do is make a sort of a short foray inside, dump the weapon systems and then go out. This could have been possible after Balakot. But now with the S-400 missile system, the moment you pose a threat, you will be taken down.
Right.
Now, it's not only the S-400 missile system. India has the Green Pine Alta radar system. Now, this Green Pine Alta radar can look inside Pakistan as much as 500 kilometers, which means we can look inside half of Pakistan. The width of Pakistan is 1600 kilometers.
Right.
So anything that takes off will be registered in this and there will be retaliation.
Right.
So really in cost benefit analysis, it does not help. Second thing, with the images coming out, you see the image of, Markaz Subhanallah in Bahalpur,
Been
shattered,
decimated. Yes.
decimated, shattered into smithereens. You see the image of Markaz Tayyab in Muridke, smithereens. That has a lot of, impact on the morale of your people and the morale of your forces. After this has happened, if you lose more planes, more military personnel, the combination will be deadly for Pakistan.
Yes, and the fault lines, which you were referring to briefly earlier, this, the fault lines between the Punjabis, the Sindhis, the Pathans, Pashtuns, these fault lines will also start, playing their role because Pakistan at this point in time is really unstable.
You say Pakistan already, the fault lines have already deepened. The Taliban is very clearly saying that it does not recognize the Durand line. It only recognizes what is called the Pashtun homeland. And if you look at Pashtun homeland, it is actually the area west of Indus, which means half the Pakistan is gone. Similarly, Baluchistan, the Baluch rebels are very seriously active. I'm not saying that they will take on the Pakistan army, but they can create a situation where Pakistan army will have nowhere to run. I mean, it's now become a pincer kind of situation where Pakistan army is stuck in between. This side is the Indian army, this side is the Taliban and the Baluch. Where will you go? Into Arabian Sea? The Indian Navy is there.
So at this point in time, it's really about its own survival for Pakistan. It'll be better for it if it focuses keeping the cost analysis, which you were mentioning, focus on its internal issues instead of trying to escalate this.
See, Pakistan has to stop behaving like an abnormal state. It has to stop behaving like a terrorist state. India has no ambitions or plan on Pakistan. India has its own trajectory. India has its own growth plans. It is for Pakistan to realize that it is not a Ghazi state, it is a normal state. If it starts behaving normally, I think it will be better for Pakistan to do, because I don't think so that they have the wherewithal to counter the conventional dominance of India. What to talk of conventional, there is no way out of it. Now the other day, this Khwaja Asif again, I don't know why we are referring to him, but he again talked about, that he is going to nuke the entire world. I mean, this is madness. Yeah. That is where it is. And let me tell you, the Indian nuclear ballistic missile submarines are all deployed. The aircraft carrier is deployed. The Indian Navy used its own loitering ammunition during the strike. So the point is, I mean, somebody has to be sane. I mean, if you're mad, you can go mad. That's a different thing. But then you lose a lot. Do you want to lose your own country? That's the question one has to ask. And all this is not on this man Khwaja Asif or whosoever, Bilawal Bhutto or whatever his name is. All this is on General Asim Munir. He started it and he does not know which way to go from here. Yeah. And I have not seen him since April 16th really, after he made that deadly Ghazi speech.
Yeah. And he's letting his men on the border get killed. and of course, rest of them, I am not sure what will he be able to do to protect them. My last question to you before we wrap this up, sir, is about the international atmosphere. India has been through diplomatic channels talking to its allies, talking to pretty much all the countries which have a stake in the situation. US has clearly said that US would like to watch this come to an end very quickly. As far as China is concerned, because China is an all-weather ally for Pakistan, what role do you think China can play and China is playing at this point in time?
See, what I know of it is that the moment the strikes happened, somewhere around about 2:30 to 3 a.m., the Indian National Security Advisor, Ajit Doval, spoke first to his US counterpart, Marco Rubio. Right. He then subsequently spoke to his counterparts in UAE, UK, France. He left a message for France because the timing was such. He spoke to Saudi Arabia, he spoke to other countries and told them exactly what had happened and what had they achieved. The Americans are very much with us. Let me tell you, the Americans have also helped us by sharing intelligence. During the Pahalgam thing, post-Pahalgam, and during the strike. Right? Now, as far as China goes, India National Security Advisor sent a message to his counterpart, Wang Yi, and told him the entire situation, the way it is. Right? They have now slightly nuanced their line and they are now talking about restraint, which is all very fine. But the restraint China has to preach to Pakistan, not to us. So I do not know we are looking for any role from China, but we have had serious discussions with our, particularly Japan, all the Quad allies, everybody has been talked to. Everybody is with India on the issue of Islamic terrorism. So there is, if anybody has any illusions about it, I think they should shed it aside. The only countries that are openly favoring Pakistan is Turkey and Azerbaijan. I do not know whether it makes any difference.
On that note, and I would also like to request our viewers along with you, is that instead of falling for misinformation which is floating around on social media, to watch authentic, verified information, because a lot of times, and we have seen this in the past, especially in the case of Pakistan, that what it can't win on the battlefield, it tries to win on such platforms.
See, Abhishek, the point is that when you're talking about fighters and all, you see, people really do not know till such time that they see things. This is the world of artificial intelligence. This is a world where images are cooked up. There is a serious information warfare that is going on the social media, and everybody does that. Now let me tell you something also. You see, the Indian fighters, if they were to go in for an operation, they carry extended fuel tanks. Now these fuel tanks, once they are used, they are dropped onto the ground. So I would request people to wait for what the Indian Air Force says, rather than believing in the social media which caters to Khwaja Asif, Bilawal Bhutto or Asim Munir.
Yeah, exactly. But on that note, thank you so much, sir, for sharing all this information and what's latest with us. And we will, of course, talk again soon, because this is a developing situation. But on that note, thank you so much once again.